Howdy everyone, it's Sam. I hope you're doing really well. If you're new around here, I hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. And if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. There's no Thursday night footy on tonight, everybody, and we're all wondering what we should be doing. Me personally, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to come online and do a Q&A, my second ever, and I thought, why not give back a little bit as well, because we're almost about to hit 500 subscribers, and that's just something, it's just amazing to think that I've come sort of that far in such a short amount of time as well. I can see that there are already people inside the chat, and I just want to say thank you as well to all of you. So if you have any questions, please fire away. This is a Q&A episode, and once this episode is done, once this Wobblin Jaw Show episode has been completed, why don't you head on over to Nick from Australia and go on over there and say g'day, because he's going to be doing the Rugby League Breakdown podcast with himself, Prenzo Vids, and All Out Champ, a Magic Round edition, a very special edition as well, considering that Nick from Australia is up there in Vegas while he leaves everybody else down here in the ACT in New South Wales to rot. But that bloke deserves a holiday anyway, because he has worked tirelessly for all of you and for himself on his channel. And he's also had a pretty tough start to 2022 as well. So I hope he's having a good one. Hope you're all having a good one. So just to make sure that I'm not sitting here like a silent, stale, you-know-what, bottle of you-know-what, I want to talk about something that sort of filtered around the news airwaves there for about a couple of weeks ago now. And the first thing that I want to talk about is that tonight, so I got alerted to tonight that the 2027 Rugby Union World Cup will be, is set to be announced to be in Australia. You beauty. I think we're all going to be grabbing a ticket to it and go to see at least one game at our nearest location. Sure. And then it sort of filtered in through to me that the 2023 Women's FIFA World Cup is taking place amongst Australia and New Zealand. And I remembered some of the reports and some of the news, especially coming from the Sydney Morning Herald, that eventuated from it. And it was there's some consequences for the rugby league. And before I go into it, I just want to say hello to everybody in the chat. Piripi Akwasi, hey man, how you going? Mr. Warriors NRL Fanatics, hey Mal, how you going? Thank you for saying g'day. Jason Reader, hey man, and Mr. Robert M, thank you very much for the first question, bro. Hey Sam, a question for you. When do you think Central Queensland gets a rugby league team? A Central Queensland rugby league team, mate, I don't think will happen for another 20 years at the very least. And if I was running the game, Robert, I wouldn't be putting in a Central Queensland team. I think 4 Queensland teams is enough. I think putting in a 5th team and potentially 6th team, if need be, would be overdoing it, overcooking it. And I would genuinely look to, as the 18th team, 19th, even 20th team, I want to make it a truly national rugby league competition and not sort of just stay stuck in Queensland. I know that there is a market out there, but why don't the Brisbane Broncos take games out to Toowoomba, Redcliffe, even further if possible as well. I don't think it's not as if Central Queensland don't deserve a team. I just don't think that it's necessary at this point in time, bro. Got my mum in the chat. Hey, Ma, how you going? And she asks, do you think Team Sheens has changed West Tigers? Hard to say. It's, what are we? We're only 9 rounds deep in, and the West Tigers had such a torrid, bad start to the season. So I don't think that he has changed it. I definitely think he's brought a bit more accountability to the likes of the younger players there that haven't sort of stood up for a little while now. It's a bit too early to say. I think Jackson Hastings has made more of an impact than Tim Sheen's as well, to be honest with you. So that's just my 2 cents. But I'd like to see just a little bit more from the West Tigers. So just before I go on, I just want to I would like to finish my point of view. And please, everyone, if you're listening in, I'll get back to the comments in about 5 or so minutes. And so I just want to make this point. So the 2023 Women's FIFA World Cup is coming down to Australia, and the reports are that there are going to be up to 7 clubs that are going to be affected by this World Cup in between the months of July and August. And here is a schematic. So the Bulldogs, Sydney Roosters, West Tigers, and South Sydney Rabbitohs from July through till August, they're all going to have to be looking for brand new venues. So you can see there, or at least I hope you can anyway, that on Thursday, July the 20th, the Sydney Football Stadium, the brand newie, is going to be taken up. And you've got Accor Stadium in there as well. They've still classified that as Stadium Australia. So that's going to heavily affect Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Now, the South Sydney Rabbitohs, however, they're trying to get out of their Accor Stadium deal at the moment. So even if they do get greenlit to move over to the new Moore Park, they're still going to be searching for a home for pretty much a month. And what I'm going to do now is just bring up the news source. So under the agreement signed with FIFA when Australia and New Zealand won the bid for the 2023 World Cup, the government agreed to hand over match and training venues for up to a month before the tournament, which starts on July 20th and ends with the final at Accor Stadium. The venues are under FIFA's control for 5 days after the last game as well, but stakeholders are negotiating for this to be cut back. Leichhardt Oval has also been listed as an official training venue for the tournament, meaning the West Tigers will be unable to use the ground for an extended period as well. And the West Tigers, though, they train out at Concord. They've got a brand new centre of excellence out there. So Leichhardt Oval, West Tigers, they can deal with that. I think maybe when the draw comes out, and we'll get to the draw in a little bit, that the West Tigers will probably fixture in their 3 Leichhardt Oval games at the very start of the season. But let's continue on in the news source. And FIFA will take over venues for 4 weeks before the first game at the ground, meaning different stadiums will be affected for different timeframes, depending on whether they host pool games or only finals, such as Accor Stadium. Suncorp Stadium will be booked for 9 weeks, Amy Park for 8 weeks, the Sydney Football Stadium for 7, and Accor Stadium for 6 weeks. That's 2 months. That's 2 months that the Brisbane Broncos, and to a lesser degree, the brand new Redcliffe Dolphins, are going to be without a home for. So I imagine, and I'm sure they are, I imagine that the Broncos and the Rabbitohs and everyone that's going to be affected by this 2023 Women's FIFA World Cup tournament, they're already starting to plan for next year big time, man, as far as what to do. And let's get into some of the options that they can muster up to make sure they have a smooth 2023 or as much as possible. When it comes to the regular NRL season, head office is already in dialogue with clubs affected to determine what is the best course of action. The options are stacking home games at the start of the season for teams affected by the World Cup, scheduling buys, and I think that will probably be happening for a few clubs, if not all. And the other option there is to take games to regional venues. And then in the bottom right corner, the AFL won't be affected by the Women's World Cup. The AFL is in partnership with the Victorian government, decided against making the Melbourne Cricket Ground available because it didn't want to displace the 4 clubs down there in AFL land. Righto. So there are clubs that are going to be at a serious disadvantage come State of Origin time. But if you look at it, or if you think about it, the Brisbane Broncos, they could dead set have 4-5 home games to start off 2023. They may not leave Queensland for the first 5 or 6 weeks of the 2023 NRL season. For the South Sydney Rabbitohs, Eastern Suburbs and the like, they will be having 6 games, 7, 8 games, where they will not leave any further than Bankwest Stadium, I would imagine. So there's going to be an advantage for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, West Tigers to a degree, Bulldogs and Roosters. And as if Roosters need any more of a friggin' leg up these days, considering how much of a powerhouse that they are. If they can get the points on the board really early on in the season, it sets them up very, very nicely. And we are all anticipating the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs to be top 8 contenders next year, especially with the likes of Viliami Kikau coming in and Reid Marnie. So I've just made up some scheduling here. So with Amy Park, so we know that Amy Park is going to be scooped up by FIFA for at least 7 weeks, 8 weeks. So you say from about round 16 of the NRL season next year, early July, they're going to have to start taking games elsewhere. And then the group matches for the Women's World Cup begins July 21st and goes through until Tuesday, August 8th. And so therefore, Melbourne Storm, after everything that they've had to go through with COVID over the past 2.5 years, and everybody else, mind you, this isn't just Melbourne Storm, but obviously, the Melbourne Storm, they're going to be without a home for 2 months, man, because this Women's World Cup is happening. And they won't be able to get back home until, I think, approximately at least Thursday night on the 15th, or the 10th of August at the very least. So then you look at the Suncorp Stadium schedule as well. Their first game that they're hosting up there at Brisbane is going to be July 22nd, but you'd probably say that a week or two before that, it's going to be unavailable, or as it said so in the Sydney Morning Herald, even as early as 1st of July, pretty much, Suncorp Stadium is going to be booked out. And the Brisbane Broncos, and to another degree, the Redcliffe Dolphins, they're not going to be able to play their games out there at Suncorp Stadium until, I guess, going off me bad maths, Friday the 25th, 26th of August next year. That's a massive disadvantage for the Brisbane Broncos, and to a lesser degree, the Dolphins coming in next year for their first ever season as well. But for the Dolphins, there is some good news there for them, and that is that they can really, what's the word I'm looking for? They can really make a stronghold and really have a presence in Redcliffe when they play out at Moreton Daily Stadium. So I'm not anticipating their first home game at Moreton Daily Stadium to be until June, I reckon, because they're just going to front load Suncorp Stadium for the Dolphins for at least the first 11 or 12 rounds of 2023. And then we'll go back into the other overlay that I popped up before. So Sydney Football Stadium, the brand new Sydney Football Stadium, won't be able to be touched at least a fortnight before July 20th. So Sydney Roosters, and if South Sydney Rabbitohs is successful in getting their contract moved from McCaw to the new Moore Park, they're going to be skedaddled out before July the 5th, I guess, as a random number, as a random date. And the Sydney Roosters, they won't be able to return to their home ground until at least August, or until at least August the 27th or thereabouts. And look, all these clubs, what's a little bit of a bonus for them as well is that they have already got this experience of being upheaved and then shifted out to Queensland, or they've had to be in this COVID bubble now for the past 2.5 years. So they're going to have a bit of experience in having to up moved and the like. But take my North Queensland Cowboys, for example. They don't need to be touched. Take the Canberra Raiders, for example. Their home games can continue as well. So from the middle of the season, I mean, how do you predict what's going to happen next year? It's going to be, I think those 7 clubs are going to have to start the year on absolute fire, because halfway through the season, it's pretty much game back on again. It's going to be reset for those 7 clubs: Brisbane, Tigers, Roosters, Bulldogs, Dolphins, Rabbitohs. And again, Tigers to a lesser degree. Their training facility, well, not their training facility, the Leichhardt Oval will not be able to be touched. So for those poor bloody Balmain fans, and I only hosted a gentleman named All Out Champa just the other day. Yeah, poor bloody Balmain supporters won't be able to see Leichhardt for and from June onwards, pretty much halfway through the season. So there won't be a late Leichhardt Oval game in 2023 for the Tigers if you're a Tigers supporter, for sure. So it's good that we're starting to get that the NRL have got heads up now, so they could sort out regional games or the buys or the whatnot. But I guess my point is in discussing this, and it's a really interesting topic to have or discussion to have. But I guess my point is, where do these regional games go? Where do the Roosters, Rabbits, where do they take their home games to? So for me, if I'm the Brisbane Broncos, I am looking at Central Queensland. Robert M asked at the start of the show, do you think there should be a Central Queensland team? No, but there will be for half a season next year when Brisbane Broncos won't be allowed to use Suncorp Stadium as a home, even as a training facility. They're going to have to travel out to Toowoomba, go up to Rockhampton and Mackay and the like, and fight for competition points up there. For the Redcliffe Dolphins, it's going to be a little bit easier. They're going to play their first 6 games, I imagine, at Suncorp, and then they're going to just alternate between Moreton Daily Stadium and the Sunshine Coast Stadium. So that's what's going to be on the cards for the Dolphins from early July, pretty much. For the Melbourne Storm, it's a little bit trickier for the Melbourne Storm. They can't use Amy Park. Their second home is going to be is Suncorp Stadium. Is there going to be double headers with Dolphins and Storm going to be both home teams? Are they going to share a stadium, being Sunshine Coast Stadium, or do the Melbourne Storm shift out west to Perth for a couple months or for a month, or do they shift out to Adelaide? If you want to try and really have a outreaching effect on the NRL next year, Melbourne Storm, man, I'd say forget Queensland. They're going to be just fine. I'd shift me bits if I were Melbourne Storm. Make my presence known in Adelaide, make my presence known in Perth, and play 2 out west, 2 in South Australia sort of thing until they can get their home back in mid-August sort of thing. And then for the Bulldogs, Roosters, and South Sydney Rabbitohs, gee whiz, what do you do there? I mean, I guess Doggies have got CommBank Stadium. And I mean, how much pressure is that going to be on CommBank Stadium next year? The turf will be scratched up every bloody night, sort of thing. The South Sydney Rabbitohs as well. I mean, do the fans really want to travel out to CommBank Stadium once a week or once a fortnight to go check their team out? I wouldn't imagine so anyway. And then for the Sydney Roosters, what do you do there? I mean, do they return to the Sydney Cricket Ground from July? I suppose that's probably what you'd want to do. So, look, I really think this is such an interesting point of discussion because it's going to affect these clubs significantly from early July. And I'm going to go back into the chat now, or just in a second. But before I do, I want to say this. I really like football. I support all the codes of women's football. So I'm excited to see the Women's FIFA World Cup come down to Australia and New Zealand. And that's another thing too, might I add. The New Zealand portion, the Warriors, they aren't going to be affected. All the games are going to be played out at Eden Park or Wellington as well. But again, the NRL will have to sort of maneuver their way for a good draw for the Warriors, because there's going to be so many games in New Zealand played next year. So I'm in support for the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup coming to Australia and New Zealand. I'm going to be buying a ticket. I'm all for it. But I just think this is such an interesting topic to discuss. And I'm gonna go into the chat now and catch up with you. And if you excuse me, just give me a minute, ladies and gents. So I'm gonna start with Mr. G Land. Hi, dude. Hey, Sam, been watching for a long time. This is my first comment. Just like to thank you. Oh, and up Cronulla. G Land, that's really nice of you, and thank you very much for the support. It's very much to and fro, vice versa. That's really, really nice. National Sports Loaded. Hey, bro. How you going, man? Do you think Burton will play Origin next year? Next year? He's a chance of playing this year, man, of playing in the centres. It's between Staggs, Crichton, and Burton. Burton is going to be an Origin mainstay in about 2 or so years, but if he can get a couple of games over the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to set him up beautifully. Matt Burton, will he play Origin next year? I think he's a huge chance, but Luai and Cleary are so young, so Burton won't be playing in the halves. That's for sure, unless, touch wood, that Luai and Cleary don't get injured, sort of thing. Warriors NRL fanatics, do you think Magic Round should remain in Brisbane 2023, or should New Zealand get to host it? I'm actually rather PO. I'm rather pissed off that Brisbane fought as hard as they did. Or maybe the NRL were just so absent-minded to the idea of shifting Magic Round out to New Zealand, who have been sports-starved for years now. They have been rugby league famished for a couple of seasons now. I think it's a travesty. It's going to be a missed opportunity to shift Magic Round out to New Zealand. Probably Eden Park is the venue that I would have selected to be the host for Magic Round 2023. I'm really against. I am against Brisbane hosting it in 2023. I think if they shifted it out to New Zealand next year, it's a thank you Warriors. It's a thank you New Zealand for continuing to support rugby league in such a dry era for the code in that country. But also the worry that I have about New Zealand Rugby League is the junior systems and the junior development, grassroots footy over there across the ditch. And if you can bring Magic Round back in a year where pretty much the lanes are going to be open to travel from Australia to New Zealand or vice versa, you had to take it. You had to take Magic Round over to New Zealand and just spark something. One of the best and biggest weekends on the rugby league calendar, at least since 2019, well, since it was injected into the competition. I think this is a missed opportunity by the NRL. I think this is, I think knowing as well that New South Wales were even at a stage where they were preferred as an option instead of New Zealand, and you had Brisbane all the way up the top there. I think it's just so insensitive, and I think it's a missed opportunity to really just breathe some life back into New Zealand Rugby League, which is on its knees right now. And with all due respect to you Warriors NRL fanatics and all Warriors fans out there, especially with the form that the New Zealand Warriors are in right now, do I think Magic Round should remain in Brisbane? Well, it's too late now. It's happening in 2023 and allegedly or apparently in 2024. So I think I think it's a massive shame. So we'll move on to Mum. Next question: Magic Round. What's going to happen if it's going to be like last year? Bedlam. It'll be absolutely Armageddon if the rules are tinkered with starting tomorrow. But look, Magic Round starts tomorrow. they're not going to come out over the weekend and say sin bins are going to be 5 minutes and sin bins are going to be 10 minutes. There's going to be two different types of sin bins, and then interpretations and everything will just go bang. I don't think anything's going to happen. I think they've learnt their lessons after last year's hiding and backlash from the fans. No, I don't think anything's going to happen. But if something did happen, expect no mercy from the NRL community for sure. The Diab Farm, Sam and I going to Magic Round in 2023. Not this year, young man, but thank you very much for asking, and thank you very much for tuning in. And once I'm done doing this Q&A, please travel on over to Mr. Nick from Australia's channel, where he's going to be doing the Rugby League Breakdown podcast with Mr. Parenzo Vids and All Out Champa. Let's move on to the next question. Robert, who do I pick at Queensland fullback for game one? Whoa. Yeah, it's either Ponga. I think it's just got to be. Yeah, I think I just got to have Ponga in there at fullback. I think Reece Walsh, he's so close. He's so close, but just the form the Warriors are in at the moment is going to cost him. Ponga's not going all that crash shot either, but if there is a stage or if there's a way for him to sort of have momentum sparked in him, playing an Origin game, that'll sorten him out. That'll straighten him up as well. And he didn't have a bad game against the North Queensland Cowboys this past weekend as well. He was in a lot. He was involved a lot for the Newcastle Knights. So I'd have Ponga in at fullback. And Diab Fam, I've said I'm going to Magic Round. Best coach for round 9. Well, let's try. Well, Kevy Walters has got to be up there for getting the Brisbane Broncos. That 20 points victory over the South Sydney Rabbitohs. You got Coach Brad Arthur, who had the Eels win. I don't think you can go past Brad Arthur now, can you? Kevy Walters would have been second or first place until Brad Arthur got his Parramatta Eels up and obviously executed their game plan to perfection by beating the Penrith Panthers in the way they did. Gee whiz, Parramatta were impressive the other day. Fair income. The Manly rep. Hey, man, how you doing? How are you? That's my question. Bro, I'm good, man. I'm okay. I'm excited that if you didn't know already, I'm moving to Queensland towards the back end of this year or early next year. And I've just sort of found out some nice news that really sort of solidifies that the move is actually going to happen. It just feels like I've been talking about this for 15 years and just not a whole lot of movement has occurred. But just got some nice news today or yesterday, and yeah, things are going in the nice direction. Thanks, Manly Rep. Thank you, man. And we've got Mr. CJ Moxley. G'day, mate. G'day, mate. And I'm just going to keep scrolling down. Definitely going to affect us. And Sally May, you're a Melbourne Storm supporter and a supporter of my channel, and thank you very much. And yes, it's gonna affect Melbourne Storm, but we've seen how good the Melbourne Storm can be on the road. I mean, Sunshine Coast Stadium in 2020, they absolutely killed it, man. But as a Melbourne Storm supporter, how would you like to see the Melbourne Storm execute their draw for 2023? Would you like to see them sort of touch more cities out west, or would you like to see them sort of share the Sunshine Coast Stadium sort of thing and shift their bits up to Suncorp for Brisbane or Queensland for 6 to 8 weeks next year? And I'm just going to keep traveling down. Piripi Akwasi, is anyone going to Magic Round in this chat right now? Let us know. And Tiger Walker, I'll see you this Sunday, bro. I'll see you this Sunday. Do you think Luciano Leila will be good for the Cowboys? Yes, I do. He's on an expensive old contract as well, because we had to pay overs for him. I think it's about $650. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was $650 the purchase was for a few years for Mr. L. Leilua's services. Yeah, he's going to be a very good signing. It's just, wow, we've just got so much back row depth all of a sudden. Well, Tom Gilbert did get shifted out to, or has signed with the Dolphins for next year. So that's going to be a good cover up. And we don't, and this is another thing too, Connolly Lemuelu has been groomed to be a second row player throughout the offseason, and he's also signed with the Dolphins. And Mitch Dunn, who did his ACL in the early part this year, he's off contract at the end of the season. And I mean, the poor bugger hasn't been given an opportunity to prove his worth at North Queensland, even though he's been around for a number of years. So we don't know what's going to happen with Mitch Dunn. So it was sort of looking like there for a while that we're just going to have maybe a little bit too much depth in the back row. But now that Gilbert and Lemuelu were off to the Dolphins, Leila is going to be fantastic. Who do I start? I think you've got. I think I'd go Lukey and Leilua as a starting second row. Oh no, I wouldn't actually. I'd go Nanai and Leilua as a starting second row combination next year and have Lukey coming off the bench too. But I mean, you can argue the case for either or sort of thing. But Leilua's definitely got a starting spot locked up next year as well. Hey, Warriors and Neural Fanatics going to Magic Round. This is just absolutely crazy. Yes, it will be. It will be, man. I mean, hey, but you National Sports Loaded, you follow the Parramatta Eels, you're going to be safe there at CommBank Stadium, but you're also probably going to have South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Bulldogs knocking on your door asking if they can please come in and use your stadium. And you could tell them to get absolutely buggered, but I doubt that's going to happen because I think it's New South Wales government owned. It's not Parramatta owned CommBank Stadium, not like Cronulla Sharks. PointsBet Stadium is owned by the club or by the league's club anyway. Robert M, for the Roosters, couldn't they use SCG? Yes. I think they'd just shift their bits out to the SCG in 2023. Do I think the Roosters can finish? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're not even halfway through the season, and the Roosters are sitting in sixth or seventh position at the moment. Oh man, don't count. Excuse the half pun, but don't count your chickens too early, ladies and gentlemen. The Sydney Roosters just need a whiff. I don't think the win against the Gold Coast Titans this past weekend was that sort of ignition victory for the club, because I think the Titans were that bad, and I don't even think the Roosters, even though they got 44 points in the end, I don't think they were all that good. But they were pretty good though. Gladstone for Broncos or Toowoomba or Rocky? Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Because I do think Dolphins are going to shift their bits up to, they're going to, as I said before, I think the Dolphins are going to have most of their Suncorp Stadium games at the start of the year. And then for the rest of 2023, it's all going to be at Moreton Daily Stadium and the Sunshine Coast Stadium. And it's just going to alternate from there as well. And so therefore, Broncos out there at Gladstone and Toowoomba or Rockhampton. I was just watching I was just watching a game from last year, Cowboys Dragons out there at Brown Park at Rockhampton. It's a really nice little venue that Sally May, no, we should go to regional Victoria. Well, that's a great idea too, isn't it? And I think off the top of my head as well, there's a new stadium for the A-League club, Western United. I think that's getting erected. So hopefully that stadium, I'm not too sure. Maybe we can find out. No, I don't want to just sit here and go like that for 2 minutes and come up with nothing. So no, we'll leave it for now. But I think there is a new Western United stadium coming out in the next couple of years. Mr. Nick from Australia came in or was in or is in. Hey, bro, how you going? I really hope you're having a good time up there in Brisbane and staying as dry as humanly possible. We got Nick from Brisbane is going well, bro. It's wet. Need to get some more ponchos, but having a great time. Sensational, bro. Sensational. Just going to keep scrolling down. Sorry, I've just lost me bloody... Nah, there we are. So we're looking forward to Magic Round. Yep. He's going to Magic Round. Love it, Mr. Lachlan. So I think it'll be close, by the way. Congrats on the Cowboys this year. They've been a surprise packet. They certainly have been. If anyone wants to DM Nick, just message him on Instagram, bros. And then I do think New Zealand should host Magic Round. Cool. No, good, man. Good. good. And I think Mr. Lachlan says, I think next season the Australian team should host games against the Warriors, like Bulldogs could host Warriors in Wellington. Absolutely, absolutely. But and the stadiums are escaping me at the moment. But the South Island of New Zealand, they're going to be hosting some Women's World Cup games as well. So who knows? Who knows how the draw is going to look next year? And you know what? For the past couple of seasons now, the NRL have been really quick to reveal their draw, and I just don't think we're going to see a draw until December. I reckon, with the Rugby League World Cup happening at the end of the year, and considering how much chess pieces need to be moved and played with this World Cup, and with the Dolphins coming in next year and organising buys and the like, we may not see the Rugby League draw until a week before Christmas, I reckon. And the Rugby League draw has dropped, I think, late October for the past couple of seasons now. So yeah, I mean, which is a shame because I mean everyone knows how I feel about when the draw unveiling comes about. It's like freaking Christmas to me. I love the day when the NRL draw drops, but yeah, we've been lucky and it's been good that it's dropped so early or so quickly after grand final day. But I think this year for the 2023 draw, it's gonna take a while. We're all gonna have to just sit on our hands and bite our tongues and wait in great anticipation for that Rugby League World Cup for the 2023 NRL draw. Mr. Warriors NRL Fanatics, deserves more league. No Todd Payton. Todd Payton's everywhere. For me, Todd Payton's doing a sensational job. Warriors NRL Fanatics says he wishes he still had Payton. I might have to save that sort of topic for another day, but yeah, you could do with a Todd Payton at the moment. Let's go to Mr. Ortis Kos. I hope I've pronounced that last name right. Hey, man, thank you very much. I've never seen you around here, and thank you very much for the support. And if you are new around here, I hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. New Zealand will only deserve it if the Warriors start performing on a consistent basis. I respectfully disagree with that, because I think if the NRL, if the Rugby League world wants to, I think just New Zealand do deserve it. I think after being starved for so long, I do think they deserve it to host Magic Round for sure. And I think that's what you're talking about, Mr. Cozy. National Sports Loaded, I mean, most of my teams in 2020 use it, to be honest. I just think the turf is a big problem, and that's what gave them too many injuries. So next year could affect these teams in Sydney massively. I get that too. I think when Bankwest, as it was known back then, when it was first, when the gates first opened, I think it had a bit of a reputation for being quite a slippery turf, and it took teams by surprise. You could visibly, I remember seeing teams like, "Whoa, this is brand new," and it took them a while to get going. I mean, Cowboys have only played there once, and I think they got smashed by the Parramatta Eels, something like 40 points to 4 one evening down there. Mr. Tiger Walker says Leila will score next year every game for the North Queensland Cowboys. Well, if he does that, he's going to be topping the try scoring list for sure, man. And I'll be making a statue out of him for sure. And Robert M, the Wyndham City Stadium is a proposed football stadium in Tarneet, Victoria, Australia. It is scheduled to open in 2023 as the home ground of Western United FC. And if I've got me maths correct, the A-League season doesn't begin until October. So I think taking a Melbourne Storm game for them, they won't be able to get there in time, or it just won't be ready, I don't think, anyway. But thank you very much. The Wyndham City Stadium is a proposed football stadium in Tarneet, Victoria, Australia. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. And Nick from Australia, getting ready for podcast at 8:50 Should be an awesome night. And yeah, it should be, man. It's always a good time. And ladies and gents, if you got any more questions, please shoot them through. This is a Q&A episode, and I just want to say thank you very much for everybody that has tuned in and stuck on by and said g'day. There's still plenty of yous in the chat watching right now, sticking about. So there's another thing that I'd like to talk about now, just before I go, and I'm just going to share my screen just for half a second, guys. That's what I want to do. So, Mr. Ronald Volkman, guys, there's been a lot. I've heard this name for about a year now, and this bloke has gone from Sydney Roosters out to the New Zealand Warriors over the past week. Even though Volkman was signed from 2023, he got out of the contract early, or the Warriors got him out of the contract early, and now he's going to be playing for the Warriors at some stage throughout 2022. I imagine he'll make his first grade debut with New Zealand sometime this season, and I am buggered if I know what he's done. I've never seen any highlights of the young man. I do know, however, that when he was playing with the Roosters, the feeder club was the North Sydney Bears in the Knock-On Effect Cup, and the North Sydney Bears are undefeated from the best of my knowledge. Or at least I know that they went 3-0 to start the year, and they were sitting on top of the ladder. And Volkman, as a half, he would have had a massive hand in it. So I want to just have a bit of a quick reaction to some of his highlights if the internet works. And that's a nice burst of speed. And isn't he he's a bit of a short figure, isn't he? But he had a nice burst of speed there. There's a nice step, a double step, nice power, and he's doing it again. Good luck trying to get your hands on Mr. Ronald bloody Volkman. Warriors NRL Fanatics needs a bucket because he's drooling at the moment, doesn't he? Hold the ball. He's just dropped everything. He's that excited. Nice. Nice. I wish they wouldn't slow-mo it, actually. Oh, gee whiz. Just... Oh, that tackle just then. Wow. Just get on the ground, you tosser. Oh, get out of the way. Yeah. Doesn't he have a silky step? But he's got that power to break the line and break. Oh, what a flick. What a flick. Wow. Nice barge. Didn't score. A nice deception there. Looks like he was playing on Seaford Oval there for a hot second. And these are some rugby highlights as well. So Volkman, oh, gee whiz, cut him in half and picked him up and slammed him into the earth. Wow. I've not seen any of this. And these are highlights from when he was, 16 years of age or thereabouts anyway, and possibly even younger. And he's obviously refined himself. Wow. And he's been learning under, in my opinion, the best in the game with Trent Robinson. And now he's shifted out to Mr. Nathan Brown as well. Wowee. So that's what Ronald Volkman is bringing. Strike me pink. Wow. Warriors fans, be patient with him because he is such a young, and that's the point too. He is such a young man, but he hasn't even made his debut yet. But them highlights there, that flick pass with such little reaction time to do it in. Goddamn. Tiger Walker asked, do I think Api Coruscant would be a good signing for the West Tigers? Oh, yeah. Jackson Hastings to start 2022 has at times had to dart out a dummy half and show them the way. And with Jackson Hastings just chilling out just for a couple seconds more in 2022, and Api Coruscant smashing his way, carving a path out a dummy half as well, is going to be a great pickup for you guys. And he's been good wherever he's gone. I think he's just unfortunately, he had an off-field dramatic year last year. And it did derail him because he obviously walked away with the 2021 premiership. But he wasn't quite his brilliant self. And I do think, and I think a lot of people do think that Api Coruscant on his day, man, is just very, very good Api Coruscant. And Mr. Rugby League Roundup, hey, bro, how you going, man? And Warriors and All Fanatics, he's got the bucket out. He's drooling. He can't wait until Ronald Volkman comes and bloody debuts for him and takes him to a premiership in about 6 years or so. And Rugby League Roundup, I think there's highlights of Jack Bostock. You should check it out. I'll do that another time. But to everybody that's in the chat right now, thank you so much. Thank you for letting me wobble me jaw for about 45 odd minutes there. Now go on over to Nick from Australia and check out his Rugby League Breakdown podcast with Parenzo Vids and All Out Champa. Everybody, thank you all very much for the continuous support. Can't believe we're about to hit 500 subscribers. It makes me go cross-eyed. Fair income. I've only been doing YouTube for about 14 months. Far out. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for the questions. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And expect some more content from me over the coming days, especially that the NFL schedule for 2022-2023 is dropping tomorrow. So expect some content from me. Adios, everyone. Thank you.